And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. After days of dominating media headlines, finally, some action. Tonight, the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SHRAJ, is set to open a probe into the bombshell Galamsey report authored by former Environment Minister Professor Frimpong Boateng. The report, which was submitted to President Akufo-Addo in 2021, accuses several top government officials and party activists of active involvement in illegal mining. Today, lawyers for Member of Parliament for South Dai, Roxing Nelson Dafiamekbo, visited the premises of SHRAJ with a 5-page petition. My colleague Papani Ashali was there and joins me live with details. Was the MP there himself?
Well, Evans, we are told by the lawyer that he had an emergency, so he had to rather rush to his village. So he wasn't there, and his lawyer was there rather for him.
Let's get to the specifics. Despite the comments by the president, as we've seen over the last few days, that the, quote, not a single piece of evidence was addressed or adduced by Frimpong Boateng to enable claims to be properly investigated. The MP in question, Roxanne Dafiamekbo, disagrees. What did he say specifically in his petition?
Yeah, so if you go to paragraph 11, it says that the IMCIM, which is the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining report, is replete with grave allegations of corruption, conflict of interest, and abuse of office, which falls within SHRAJ's mandate per Article 218 and in the 1992 Constitution, Section 7. It goes on to mention quite a number of other ones. So if you go to Chapter 13 again, it talks about Dafiamekbo wants or informs us that the Prof. Kwabena Frimpong Boateng has subsequently published 2 response letters in which he makes very damning allegations concerning ongoing illegal small-scale activities.
And he attaches
yes.
And I believe he's referring to the response to Gabia Sarchodako and the response to Kojo Nkrumah.
Yes, as that. So that paragraph 14 says that given the seriousness of the above allegations, it is only fair and proper that your good office, which is SHRAJ, conducts a full-scale investigation to establish the veracity or otherwise of the allegations.
And then he talks about, what we know to be the damage that the illegal mining is causing this particular country, and he stresses on the impact on ordinary lives, and because of the public interest that this has generated, he wants the SHRAJ to look into it. Now, beyond the names that were mentioned in the original report, they are expanding the scope of this probe that they're inviting SHRAJ to take on to include Professor Frimpong Boateng himself.
Yes, and the evidence that they are standing on is exactly in paragraph 4 and 12. Now, paragraph 4 talks about the fact that we have our clients further instruction to also petition your office with respect to the allegations of corruption, conflict of interest, and abuse of the office made by Charles Bissiou, the former secretary of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, against Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, the former chairperson of the same committee, in respect of matters involving the 500 excavators that were supposedly missing around February 2020. And 12 also gives further clarity to this statement.
And indeed, Charles Bissiou last week spoke to Top Story and repeated that allegation that Frimpong Boateng himself had himself or his associates involved in illegal mining, which is now subject of a possible probe by SHRAJ. Thankfully, we can speak to the SHRAJ boss shortly, Mr. Joseph Whittal, who is joining us. But just for those who haven't followed the additional commentary, which is now being made part of the petition. This is Charles Bissiou, who was secretary to the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, and Professor Frimpong Boateng was his boss then, speaking to me last week.
I was working with, he reported me to the NIB, and then I went there, gave them a statement, and he became a suspect. And then he said, I bribed the NIB. So he took the matter to the CID. Then he became a suspect there too. When they went to interview, he never gave them his statement because then he was a minister. So I think all these things need to be come to the fore for us to discuss. And I think the agencies should basically investigate this matter.
Wait a minute, did you say that you also reported him and he became a suspect?
No, he sent the matter,
He sent the original matter to the police.
Yes, and he didn't know that I knew a lot. So everything that I said was factual. And then I mentioned the people around him's name, his boys who were doing the job for him. And then the police invited the boys. So if you contact the NID, I think they have the report there.
So what you're saying is the police received evidence from you that
Exactly.
Frimpong Boaten's own associates were
Yes.
also engaged in illegal mining.
And then further to that, they invited the guys.
Yeah, but that his associates, but not himself.
No, they invited them. And
Yes.
then subsequent to that, they wanted to speak to Prof. But because he was a minister, I think he bullied them. He wasn't going to grant them an interview.
He
and I
bullied
don't
the
think
police?
it's been done up to now.
You say he bullied the police.
Because nothing was written. Because I kept asking the police that I think you need to invite folks too, and they said they've actually invited him, and he's not actually, I think, reporting to them. I think you need to speak to the agencies. I do not know how the administrative processes work, but you can contact the NID and the police, CID. Then the CID boss was Kenya Boa.
Well, what you just heard there was Charles Bishu's interview on Top Story last week, in which he alleges that he already is subject before the police, that he had told the police that Frimpong Boateng himself was also involved in illegal mining. That now we know is part of Roxanne Dafiamekpo's petition before Shrad, aside the bigger petition for the Shrad to look into Professor Frimpong Boateng's allegations in the report, which was before the president in 2021. Thankfully, the commissioner of Shraj himself, Mr. Joseph Wetal, joins us on the line right now. Mr. Wetal, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you, Evans.
Can you please confirm if you formally now have this petition in your custody?
That is so. Evans, around 12 o'clock this afternoon, I got that the commission received the petition, which was brought personally by lawyer for the Member of Parliament, Roxanne Nelson Dafiamekpo. So we received it and we are studying it. The next steps will be to acknowledge it tomorrow, and then we'll determine whether by an interim assessment or an initial assessment, whether the allegations that have been made really trigger the mandates of the commission.
So you're not going straight to a full-scale probe yet. You have to establish a prima facie.
We have to, yeah, we have to. The law requires that of us.
And how do you come to making that judgment on whether or not to proceed or just terminate it at the initial stage?
It depends on what is in the petition and what has been attached as part of the documents which were brought in by the petition. After studying them, we may undertake a preliminary investigation. We may even invite the lawyer for further and better particulars in respect of aspects of the petition. When we are satisfied that clear allegations have been made which trigger any of the mandates of the commission, we would then proceed to determine who are the respondents in this particular case. Because, the report is quite broad, touches so many people, and so the ones who are germane will certainly be the ones we will look for. And then we would request them to make any comments that they have, of course, as natural justice would require. And then the next steps will be determined by the procedures of the commission.
And just a bit on the strategies on Monday, because this has to do with illegal mining in Galamsey and people's alleged involvement in largely allegations of destruction of the environment. What would you tell those who say, does this necessarily fall within the purview of Shraj?
Well, I can give you a general answer because it's a matter that we're yet to go into. But as a matter of right, the environmental rights exist. They are rights by themselves, which public officers and public institutions owe to the people of Ghana. And so to the extent that fiduciary relationships have been established between public officials in terms of their role in safeguarding the environment, if allegations have been made, those allegations certainly will be triggering the human rights mandate. But as I said, I'm speaking generally. It is, if it comes to the petition, we'll look at the specifics of the petition and to what extent they trigger which aspects of the human rights mandate in respect of the environment.
That's the fact that this is such a high-profile matter that went before the president, involves, ministers. A former one who altered it was a chair of a committee the president himself set up. Does it change anything? Does it change your approach? Does it expedite it further? Does it add extra spice to your work that you're doing?
This is a constitutional body. We will perform our mandate as required of us by the Constitution. Whether the matter came before the president or not does not necessarily add any more weight or reduce the weight on it. We will proceed as we have been mandated to do so by the Constitution.
Are there any timelines for the lawyers to expect to hear from you, not on acknowledgement, but on whether or not you're proceeding with a full-scale probe beyond the establishment of the prima facie?
That will be after we have made the preliminary investigation and come to a conclusion that there is something to proceed with, whether it is the human rights allegations, whether it is the allegations of corruption, whether it is abuse of office. All those are allegations that have been raised in the petition. Any of them that we think the mandates of the Commission have been properly invoked would be the ones that will be communicating for them to make their comments on.
And any timelines you expect for this to fall within?
Looking at the quantum, the sheer size of the petition and the accompanying documents, and the possibility that we'll be getting back to the lawyers, if any, and then the preliminary investigation, I cannot put my hand on it. But I think, given the public interest that Ghanaians have over this protracted matter, we would, within the means available to the Commission, give it the deserved attention that this particular Galamsey issues, which have bedeviled the public space, deserve.
And just
we'll give you that.
And just before you go, aspects of this are already before the police CID. In fact, Mr. Bisu, who is now part of what he had said is part of the petition before you, had already gone before the police and also made further allegations against Frimpong Boateng. That's the fact that the police is already dealing with aspects of this, playing to what you're doing, to different state institutions, possibly then duplicating investigative work?
No. Even far from it. If you look at the petition carefully, it tries to evoke the mandates that are within the competence of the Commission. The police do not have the competence to investigate human rights allegations. And so, who else, even if they are investigating an aspect of the petition, it does not take away the right of the Commission to also undertake that aspect of the investigation. Corruption is wholly within the mandate of the Commission. And if we think that they are investigating aspects of corruption, which is also criminal, and there is a need to cede that part off to them, we will come to that conclusion. Abuse of office is not something that the police will investigate. That is certainly within the Commission's mandate. So for now, as I said, what I've indicated are speculative. They are general. We are here to study the complaint and the attachments and undertake the initial assessment to prove the mandate and then proceed with the preliminary investigation. I cannot give you timelines on that.
Mr. Whittal, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And that's Joseph Whittal. He is a commissioner at the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. Nick Papos Samoa Ado is a lawyer for Nelson Roxin Dafiamekbo. He's a member of Parliament for South Dai, and he has filed this petition. He joins us on the telephone line right now. Nick Papos, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Good evening and good evening to your wonderful listeners.
You just heard the Commissioner Stride say that they first have to establish if there's even a basis to open a full-scale probe. Based on what you've submitted, do you believe you meet that threshold?
Oh, very much so. I mean, at the minimum, prima facie, you must establish the fact that there are allegations of corruption, abuse of public office, and human rights violations. If you look at the report, and I'm sure you have a copy, I'm sure you would not deny the fact that Professor Boateng has provided evidence. He doesn't even make speculation. He provided maps. He provided letters. And when certain people challenged him, he provided even more material. So in terms of a prima facie evidence pointing to specific allegations against certain people, I am very confident that we have even passed that threshold. What is even more pertinent is the fact that there are counter allegations as well. And so there must be the provision of a forum, independent forum that's such as SHAD, to investigate all the allegations. You understand? Because I think that SHAD is the last bastion of independent investigations that we can find. We tried the Interministerial Committee against illegal mining. Where did we land? The president has issued a statement saying that he's not interested, and that this is a narration or an amalgamation of personal grievances by Professor Boateng. So clearly, where else can we go to find any form of justice or any form of remedy in respect of this galamsey? If we don't find it through SHAD, then you and I, we are doomed. Then we must as well present ourselves to importing water very soon, because our water bodies are threatened. And clearly, the soil itself that is used to produce food for you and I is also threatened. You know the high mercury that is being found in food products. So it is a life and death matter, and I expect you, the media, as you are pressing him now, to call him every week and remind him that there's a petition on his table, and what is he doing about it? Where have we gotten to? Because if we fail at this, I can foresee Ghana importing water very soon.
And you included allegations also made by Charles Bissue in radio interviews. We played a bit of that on this network last week. Why is that?
So the point is this. If we want to deal with this issue, we have to deal with it holistically. We cannot deal with it piecemeal. We cannot deal with it holding only one person. No. Let everybody with relevant information about this particular issue be given a forum where they can ventilate and bring evidence, so that at the end of the day, we can use this last, and I think it's the last singular opportunity for us to deal with this matter once and for all. Find out the culprits, fish them out, give them to the appropriate agencies for necessary processing and whatever else will go on, so that at least we can have some reforms. And I believe the commission would be able to come out with recommendations that will safeguard our water resources and our environment. Other than that, we are in trouble.
But you acknowledge that as far as Charles Bissue is concerned, he had said that the allegations he repeated on radio, it's something that he told the police when he himself was a subject of a probe. So the police is already looking into this matter.
No, but the point is this. Have you seen any prosecution by the police? Have you seen anybody being taken to court? Have you seen anybody being held accountable for this menace called galamsey? Let's trace the history. President comes in, puts his presidency on the line, sets up this interministerial committee. We have Operation Vanguard. We have the death of Major Mahama. We have all these landmarks. You, even in the media, formed a coalition to fight galamsey. Where have we got it? What is the end result? To the point that for the first time, a former Minister of Environment issues a report, and the President says it is an amalgamation of personal grievances. It is not a report. It was not put together in the format that a report should be put together. Who is interested in form when we are looking at the substance of the allegations that have been made? So, well, the Honourable Member of Parliament looks left, looks right, and thinks that, look, the only place left for us to deal with this matter is where? It's SHAD. We have done our bit. Let all Ghanaians and the media and everybody follow through, and let's see what will happen.
You talked about the only place left. The Roxanne Dafiamekbo is a member of Parliament, first and foremost. His leadership have said that their approach is to use the parliamentary system to trigger a bipartisan probe into this. This is his leader, Dr. Kesalato Fawcett.
That is the position of the minority. But we will go beyond raising what is happening on the floor of Parliament. Our position is that the revelations coming out calls for a national probe. Obviously, Parliament will take the lead, and it is our position to call for a probe into this matter.
Nikwako, that's his primary forum. Why is he not using that forum and backing his?
The last time you and I checked in the records of Ghana's current issues, we had a COVID probe. Have you heard anything about a COVID probe? You and I, as we sit here today, have you heard anything about a COVID probe?
Are you questioning
I'm asking you a simple question. Have you heard anything about the COVID
see
probe?
through probes that they comments?
Has it commenced?
I guess, what's the point of the question?
Has it commenced?
Your point
This
there
was the
is-
probe that was supposed to commence. Has it commenced? Anyway, let's even get back to the more legal aspects of this. Parliament does not have the mandate to deal with issues to do with corruption, right? It doesn't have the mandate to deal with issues of administrative justice, right? It doesn't have the mandate to deal with abuse of human rights. The only constitutional body that has the mandate to deal with that is SRAD. So Parliament will deal with those things if it considers necessary that it has oversight with. And I'm sure that probably will deal with issues of budget, for example, or issues to do with things that Parliament has necessary mandate and oversight with. But the specific issues we have taken to SRAD are matters that are within the sole purview of SRAD. And Commissioner Whittal explained it excellently. I don't even need to go back to what he said.
Thank you very much, sir. That's Nikwako Samoa Ado, is the lawyer for Nelson Rocks and Dafiamekpo, who has tonight sent a petition to SRAD asking SRAD to investigate that bombshell Galamsey report authored by former Environment Minister Professor Frimpong Boateng. And you heard the SRAD boss confirm that they have received it. They are now about to assess it. They will make a prima facie determination whether it merits a full-scale probe, and that will be communicated to the petitioners pretty shortly. Well, today, the main opposition, National Democratic Congress, have been addressing a press conference on this subject. They are asking the special prosecutor and backing a parliamentary probe. Listen to the National Communications Officer, Sami Jimfi.
By this Galamsey government is another reason for a public inquiry into the Frimpong Boateng Galamsey report. The Frimpong Boateng Galamsey report has indeed shocked the conscience of the nation. And no amount of half-witted and half-hearted explanations from the presidency or government can whitewash this great infamy. President Akufo-Addo's complicity in this whole scandal has been further magnified by the fact that this stinking report has been on his desk since 2021, 2 years ago. Can you believe it? Yet, he has woefully failed to act on scene. We are of the view that the only way to establish the truth and get to the bottom of the issues contained in the Professor Frimpong Boateng Galamsey report is for Parliament to institute a publicly televised and bipartisan inquiry into this report, which essentially is an obituary of President Akufo-Addo's monumentally failed fight against illegal mining. The special prosecutor on his part must act with alacrity by probing the Frimpong Boateng Galamsey report and prosecute all government officials, MPP functionaries, and persons who have perpetrated serious crimes against the state as contained in the report. The Ghanaian people deserve this probe because millions of taxpayers' money has gone down the drain in the name of fighting illegal mining. Now that it has been confirmed that all the so-called fights, Operation Vanguard, Galam Stop, we are buying drones to fight Galamsey, I am putting my presidency on the line. Now that we have confirmed that everything was a charade, our nation stands united, crying for justice. anything short of a bipartisan inquiry into this matter will be fiercely resisted. Because people who, for their own greed and selfishness, destroy water bodies, knowing very well that water is life. People who, for their own selfishness and greed, destroy our vegetation, knowing that when the last tree dies, the last man dies, are murderers who must not be shielded.
Sami Jemfi is the communications officer of the National Democratic Congress. Newsnight in a minute.
Ever visited a shop, picked a whole basket of provisions, toiletries, and very essential things you need, battled a long queue to finally pay, only to be told you can't pay to a merchant number? The way that thing they pay, but with Vodafone Cash, there is no problem. Now on Vodafone Cash, you can pay all merchants on all networks. Easy peasy. Aye straight. Aye direct. Aye sharp. From your Vodafone Cash wallet to any merchant number on other networks. So whether you are buying provisions or fuel, medication or food, whatever the service or need, just pay conveniently from Vodafone Cash to any merchant's number. Simply dial *110# to make payment to merchants on other networks today.
Vodafone.
Wouldn't you prefer an apartment hotel? One that offers the utmost convenience of a boutique hotel while offering the idyllic comfort of your own private home. Oasis Park Residences offers luxury studios, 1, 2 and 3 bedrooms both for short and long-term rental at competitive rates. Our sky swimming pool, gourmet outdoor restaurant, and a fully equipped gym rest on a breathtaking rooftop with panoramic views of the city. Oasis Park Residences, located at Shiashi, Tetekwashi, 10 minutes from the international airport, is the ideal place for all your accommodation needs. Why don't you give us a call on 020-4343-009 or visit our website at oasisparkresidences.com to make your reservations. Oasis Park Residences, more than a home.
Give me the drums. Give me the bass.
Singing our song, beating a drum.
Now, hit it!
Celebration.
GH Music's biggest night is here. The 24th Vodafone Ghana Music Awards happening live Saturday 6th May at the Grand Arena. A night of glitz and glamour, show-stopping performances, plus all the drama that comes out with Who Wins What. Performing live, King Sack, Black Sharif, Jack, Piercia Esther, Lastmate, Dope Nation, Amare, and 10 other superstars live on stage. Limited tickets are out for 500 Ghana cedis on *713*33*24#, and also at Nalam Stores, Accra Mall, and Charterhouse. The 24th VGMAs is powered by Charterhouse and sponsored by TV3, KPMG, Yango, our media partners, and Vodafone.
Our music lives
In the spirit of our rhythm.
In the next 60 minutes here on Newsnight, Attorney General